I have checked my phone 17 times in the last 22 minutes. I know this because I counted, the way you count things when the alternative is falling apart. The bridal suite at Ashford Estate Winery looks like something designed to make a woman feel beautiful and important. Ivory drapes pool across the hardwood floor. A vanity mirror framed in warm bulbs reflects a woman in a gown that fits every seam and crystal exactly as it should. The makeup artist, a quiet professional named Bet who worked without asking unnecessary questions, has given me cheekbones I didn't know I had and a mouth the precise shade of a rose just before it opens. I look like a bride. I feel like a person standing alone in a room that was built for a celebration. A knock. Ren, my wedding coordinator, opens the door with the controlled expression of someone delivering news she has rehearsed. It's time, Sloane. Her practiced smile holds for a beat before something genuine and concerned breaks through it. Are you ready? My eyes move past her to the window overlooking the ceremony garden below. 104 guests sit in rows of white chairs between two columns of living willow. The string quartet plays something from Vivaldi that carries up through the glass like a reassurance I haven't asked for. The late afternoon sun turns the whole scene amber and gold. In the front row, 3 chairs sit empty. They have a particular quality, empty chairs at a wedding. They don't just represent absence, they accuse. They're not coming, I say it quietly. A statement, not a question, though some last irrational sliver of me waits to be contradicted. Ren's smile doesn't recover this time. There's still a little, it's all right. I pick up my bouquet, white ranunculus and eucalyptus, my choice, nobody else's, and turn away from the window. Let's go. The garden doors open and 104 heads rotate toward me in unison. I feel their attention like weather, warm from some directions, charged from others. I watch faces register the absence of anyone beside me, the calculation behind kind eyes as they note that I am walking this aisle alone. Some lean toward their neighbors. One woman in the third row covers her mouth with her hand. I keep my eyes fixed ahead. On Marcus. Marcus Beaumont stands at the altar in the charcoal suit we chose together on a rainy Saturday 3 months ago, and the expression on his face when he sees me walking toward him, that specific, private, absolute expression, is the only thing in this garden that matters. He mouths something as I reach him, too low for anyone else. You're extraordinary. His hands close around mine. Warm, present, real. We're enough, he says. Whatever else, we are enough. And even as I feel the hollow ache of those 3 empty chairs pressing against the back of my awareness like a bruise, I believe him. In this moment, standing in the golden afternoon light, holding the hands of the man who has never once made me feel I needed to earn his attention, I almost believe it. The ceremony continues. I say my vows in a voice that starts quietly and grows with each sentence, until by the final promise I am speaking with the conviction of someone who has decided something permanent. When the officiant pronounces us married, Marcus's mother Adelaide folds me into an embrace that smells of rose water and means something specific. You belong here now. You're ours, she whispers, and something that has been clenched in my chest for 3 decades loosens by one precious degree. Later, at the reception, my college friend Tasha raises her glass with the fierce, unsentimental love of someone who knows the full story. To finding the family that actually deserves you, she says, holding my eyes. The applause is genuine and warm, and I have to look at my napkin for a moment to compose myself. Because the truth of Tasha's words has arrived fully formed and undeniable in my chest. I have spent 31 years invisible to the people who were supposed to see me most clearly. And I am done. When the celebration quiets for a moment between songs, I step away to check my phone one final time. No missed calls, no messages, not even a punctuation mark of acknowledgement. Marcus finds me there, holding the blank screen. He takes the phone gently from my hand, sets it on the table face down, and replaces it with his own hand. Their choice, he says. Their choice, I repeat. For the first time in 31 years, I almost feel free. 2 years pass. They pass in the form of late nights and early mornings, and the particular exhaustion that comes not from overwork, but from building something meaningful. They pass in the form of server migrations and investor presentations, and a creative team of 11 people who have become, without my quite planning it, the closest thing to a chosen family I have ever known. They pass in the form of a $23 million acquisition offer from Meridian Group, finalized on a Tuesday afternoon in a conference room on the 14th floor of our office building, with my signature across the bottom of a document that represents 5 years of my life. I am staring at the executed agreement on my screen when my team floods in. To Sloan Rivers, says Kieran, my creative director, raising a champagne flute that he has appeared from nowhere. Who built something extraordinary while certain people weren't paying attention. I clink my glass against 12 others. I smile at 12 people who actually show up. And when my phone buzzes on my desk, I glance at it only briefly before flipping it over. My brother Brennan, posting to Instagram, a photo of their family vacation in Maui, palm trees, turquoise water, my parents on either side of him with their arms around his shoulders, everyone squinting into the sun and laughing. The caption, nothing like family. My father's arm around Brennan's shoulder carries the specific weight of unguarded pride I have been watching him direct at my brother my entire life. I swipe through the rest. Holiday dinners where my chair at the table has been quietly removed over the years. My father's retirement party, 60 guests, catered, my name not in the program. Brennan's promotion celebration last spring. The twins' school recital. In every photograph, I am the missing element that nobody appears to have noticed is missing. Hey, Kieran touches my arm. We lost you. I lock the screen. Just checking messages. Where were we? The celebration continues around me, and I let it carry me forward for another hour before I go back to my desk. I open my parents' social media profiles and scroll with the cold, careful attention of a person reviewing evidence. Hundreds of posts about Brennan. His promotions, his children, his home renovation, his family ski trip. My existence appears in the archive exactly once. A generic happy birthday posted 14 months ago, no photo, 4 words. I close the laptop. The next morning, I call my financial advisor at 9 o'clock and ask her to finalize the paperwork on the Aston Martin DBX I've been considering for 3 weeks. Are you sure? She asks. It's a significant? Yes. 3 hours later, the keys are in my hand. I take a single photograph in my driveway, the car in afternoon light, the finish catching every available photon, and post it to Instagram with a caption that contains 5 words, built this life by myself. I set the phone face down and go inside to cook dinner. For 3 days, nothing from my family. Then, on a Thursday afternoon, my phone lights up with a name I haven't seen in 4 years, Mom calling. My body responds before my mind has caught up, the old tightening in my throat, the automatic readiness to accommodate, to smooth, to make myself smaller so there is more room for whatever this call requires of me. I observe this response with the detached curiosity I've developed through 2 years of weekly therapy sessions, and then I answer. Sloan. My mother Claudette's voice has that particular timbre she reserves for family urgencies, warm on the surface, pressurized beneath. We need to talk. Family meeting, Saturday at 2. Family meeting, I repeat. It's important. I let a beat of silence fall between us. My wedding was important, I say. You weren't there. A pause, my father's voice in the background. Tell her it's important, Claudette. What's this about? I ask. Financial matters. We need to discuss it as a family. As a family, the phrase lands with its full weight of irony. I am family on Saturday at 2. I was not family at my wedding, or my company launch, or the morning I got the call that we'd made the acquisition list. Saturday at 2. I say, and end the call. Sitting in my kitchen with the phone on the table in front of me, I allow myself exactly 5 minutes to feel the particular grief of this moment, the confirmation of what I already knew, that the Porsche on Instagram is what restored my family membership, not anything I am or have made or survived. Then I pick up the phone and call Marcus. They saw the car, I say when he answers. I know. His voice is steady and warm and exactly what it always is. How do you want to handle Saturday? I want to go, I say. I want to go and I want to see it clearly, whatever it is. I'll be here when you get back. I smile. I know. The house I grew up in sits behind a generous lawn on a street of generous lawns, and it has always looked from the outside like the home of a happy family. The colonial architecture. The flowering dogwood in the corner of the yard. The porch swing where I sat alone on summer evenings while Brennan's debate practice ran long and my parents waited at the school. I park the Aston Martin in the circular driveway with deliberate visibility and sit for 30 seconds with my hands on the wheel. The last time I stood on this porch was 5 years ago, the evening I came to announce my engagement to Marcus. My father had checked his watch twice during the conversation. My mother had asked whether Marcus was established. Brennan hadn't been home. I ring the doorbell. I have a key. I use the bell. My father, Gerald, opens the door. He is 64 now and carries it well, still tall, still silver-haired, still wearing authority like a garment he has never considered taking off. His eyes move past me to the Aston Martin with an involuntary flicker of assessment before returning to my face. "You've done well," he says. Not hello, not "I've missed you," just the appraisal. "Yes," I say, no warmth, no performance of warmth. I follow him inside. The dining room. My mother Claudette sits at the table already, her posture exact, her hands folded in the particular way that means she is managing an emotion she doesn't want visible. Brennan sits across from her, arms crossed, the expression of a man who has been rehearsing this meeting and is not entirely confident in his lines. His wife Megan sits beside him, a leather-bound folder closed on the table in front of her. Nobody stands to greet me. "Sit down, Sloane." Gerald gestures toward the chair that has always been mine, the one positioned diagonally from the head of the table, slightly outside the family's main axis. I've been sitting in that precise degree of exclusion my whole life without having the language for it until now. I stand. "We're happy you could make it," Claudette begins, the opener she uses when she wants to reframe a crisis as a routine family check-in. "Tell me what this is about," I say. Gerald spreads his hands across the table, the boardroom gesture, the one that means he is about to present terms. "Brennan's mortgage is 4 months behind. The twins' school fees are outstanding. Your mother and I have exhausted our available liquid assets supporting them through a difficult period, and we're at a point where—" "You need money," I say, silence. "From me," I continue. Brennan leans forward. "We're family, that means something." "It does mean something," I agree. "Tell me what it meant when you missed my wedding." The question drops into the room and nobody moves to pick it up. "Sloane," Claudette says carefully, "we can discuss that separately. You called a family meeting." "This is the family meeting. I'd like to discuss it now." I look at each of them in sequence. My father, my mother, my brother, his wife. "My wedding was 4 years ago. You were all invited. None of you came. You gave me 2 days' notice that you wouldn't be attending. You said Brennan's firm had a client event." Brennan shifts in his chair. "It was a significant opportunity. My wedding was 1 day. It happened once. You chose something else." I pause. "That's fine. I understand what the choice meant. What I don't understand is why that same family is now convened to discuss my financial obligations to them." Gerald's jaw tightens. "You were always independent. You never needed us the way Brennan did. You have to understand." "I was 11, I say quietly, "when you drove 2 hours to Brennan's regional debate final and forgot to arrange anyone to pick me up from school. I walked home in November rain. I let myself in with the spare key and made myself dinner and didn't tell you when you got home because I'd already learned that making things difficult wasn't worth what came after it." Claudette flinches. "I was 16 when you took Brennan on a college tour and didn't mention it to me until the day before because it hadn't occurred to you that I might want to come. I was 19 when my art scholarship was announced and you sent me a congratulatory card addressed to the wrong school. I was 23 when I launched my first company and you came to the opening event for 20 minutes because Brennan had a dinner reservation." "That's not," Brennan begins. "I am not finished." The room goes very still. In 31 years, I have never said those words at this table. "I built everything I have alone, every scholarship, every client, every investor meeting, every sleepless night over a server problem or a funding gap or a contract I wasn't sure we could execute. You were not there, you were not interested, you were not proud, or if you were, you never found a moment to say it." I take one measured breath. "And now you've called me here because you saw the car on Instagram, and you'd like me to write a check." Gerald leans back. The authority is still there, but beneath it, something I haven't seen before, the faintest architecture of uncertainty. "We're your family," Claudette says. Her voice has lost its management and gone somewhere genuine. "Whatever else, we're still your family." "You are," I say, "and I'm going to show you exactly what that means to me." I set my briefcase on the table, open it, remove a single document printed on foundation letterhead and place it at the center of the polished oak. They lean in. Brennan reads it first. His face goes through 3 expressions in 4 seconds. "The Lydia Rivera Arts Foundation," Gerald reads aloud slowly. "Initial endowment, $18 million. Named for my high school art teacher," I say. "The woman who came to my gallery showing when my family was otherwise engaged, who wrote me a recommendation letter that helped secure my first scholarship, who called me when the company was acquired because she'd seen the story and wanted me to know she was proud." I smoothed the document with one finger. "The endowment is legally secured in a foundation trust, board approved last Tuesday. It funds scholarships for young women in creative and digital arts, particularly those whose families cannot or choose not to invest in them. $18 million, Brennan repeats. His voice has taken on a new quality. You're giving $18 million to strangers. I'm investing $18 million in young women who remind me of myself. I close my briefcase. That's what I'm doing with my resources. Caroline, Claudette begins, using the childhood nickname I stopped answering to at 14. Sloan, you can't seriously. I also want you to know, I say, withdrawing my phone and placing it on the table face up so they can see the screen, that I've been recording this conversation since I sat down, not for any legal purpose, simply so that I have an accurate record of what was said and by whom. I pick the phone back up, just in case the narrative gets revised later. I stand. Pick up my briefcase, button my jacket. The foundation press release goes out tomorrow morning. I hope you'll find something in the work we're doing to be proud of. I look at my father longest. I waited a long time for that. I've stopped waiting and I've found a better use for the energy. I walk to the door. Behind me, Brennan's chair scrapes violently. You can't just leave. We're your family. We need... I know what you need, I say, without turning back. You needed to show up. You had 31 years. The opportunity has passed. The door closes behind me. The evening air is cool and carries the smell of the dogwood tree that bloomed every spring of my childhood. I walk to my car, press my palms flat against the warm hood for 3 seconds and breathe. Then I drive away. The calls begin at 11:52 that night. By morning, my voicemail is full. My mother's messages chart a precise emotional arc, from tearful appeals about family unity, through sharpened accusations of ingratitude, to the final register of genuine distress that is the most difficult to listen to, not because it moves me as it once would have, but because it is real, and real pain is real pain regardless of its source. You've destroyed this family, says one message, as though the family arrived intact at her hands. People will know what kind of daughter does this, says another. As though public opinion is a currency I still trade in. I delete them all and put on the navy suit I wore when signing the acquisition papers. The one that has become, without my consciously deciding this, my armor for days that require me to be precisely and completely myself. Marcus hands me coffee in the kitchen, his expression asking the question he doesn't put into words. Brennan's been calling your uncle, he says, looking at his phone. Trying to reach investors probably. Your dad called my colleague at the hospital. How did that go? About as well as you'd expect when a stranger calls to report that the ICU attending's wife is selfish. He sets his phone down. They're moving faster than I expected. Not smarter, though. The foundation board meeting that morning has the quality of a room organized by purpose. 12 women, media executives, educators, an arts philanthropist who retired early to run a nonprofit, a documentary filmmaker whose work I've admired for years, all personally vetted, all committed to something that has nothing to do with my family's financial situation. We approve the first cohort of scholarship recipients. 5 young women whose application materials I've read 3 times each. Their portfolios are extraordinary. Their need is real. One of them, a 17-year-old filmmaker named Paloma from rural Oregon, has submitted a short documentary about her grandmother's immigration that left 3 of the committee members unable to speak for a moment. She reminds me of someone, says the documentary filmmaker, looking at me. Yes, I say simply. The press release goes out at noon. By 2 o'clock, the Portland Business Journal has run a feature. By 4, 3 national media outlets have picked up the story. By 6, the foundation's intake email has received over 200 messages, the majority of them from young women who want to know if they qualify, if there's a place for them, if someone is actually looking. I read every one of them personally. I am on the 40th email when Kieran appears at my office door. Your family just showed up in the lobby. Through the glass walls, I can see my mother, gesturing with both hands, her voice carrying over the general office hum in fragments. My daughter. Abandoning, family comes first. Brennan stands beside her, arms crossed, wearing the expression I remember from childhood when something he wanted had been denied and he was deciding what level of scene to create. Have security escort them out, I say. Calmly, professionally, please thank them for coming and explain that I'm unavailable. I watch through the glass as security approaches. My mother's voice rises. Brennan gestures sharply. A few of my team members look up from their screens with the careful neutrality of people who are registering everything and will discuss it later. I walk to my office door. This is being handled, I tell my team. Please continue with whatever you were working on. Then I return to email 41, which is from a girl in Medford who wants to make films about her community but has never owned a camera. I read it twice before I respond. Patricia, my therapist, has a gift for sitting with silence that I have come to think of as one of the most valuable things one person can offer another. We sit in her sunlit office 2 days after the lobby confrontation, the smell of jasmine tea between us, and she waits while I find the right words for what happened, not the events, which I've described accurately, but the feeling underneath them. I kept waiting to feel satisfied, I say finally, when I showed them the foundation papers. When I walked out, when I watched the security team escort them from my building, I look at the window. I don't feel satisfied. What do you feel? Sad. The word arrives simply, without drama. I feel sad, not for myself or not only for what they are, for what they've never been able to be. That's a significant shift from where you were 2 years ago, Patricia says. 2 years ago, I was still hoping they'd change. And now? Now I understand the difference between what I wanted them to be and what they are. Those are two different things, and I've been confusing them my entire life. I wrap both hands around my tea mug. I wanted their love. They wanted my usefulness. That's not the same relationship. Patricia nods slowly. What would you like to do with that understanding? Keep building, I say. Keep building the thing I'm building. The thing I'm building has momentum now that doesn't depend on my family's awareness of it. The foundation generates coverage that spreads further than I anticipated, not because I sought it, but because the story resonates in a way that has nothing to do with me and everything to do with what it represents. Young women being seen. Young women being invested in. Young women given the specific, practical, unglamorous gift of someone believing in their potential before they've proven it. Paloma's documentary screens at a small festival 3 months after her scholarship is announced. I sit in the back row. When the lights come up, the filmmaker who serves on my board turns to me with shining eyes. That's what you're building, she says. That's what she built, I say. I just opened the door. The meeting I didn't expect happens on a gray November morning. My father calls my cell directly, not through my assistant, not through Marcus, not through an attorney. He calls the number I've had since I was 22 and he has never used. I let it ring 4 times. Then I answer. I'd like to meet, Gerald says. His voice has shed some of its habitual authority. What remains sounds closer to a man than a patriarch. Not to ask for anything, just to, I'd like to see you. A long silence. The coffee shop on Morrison, I say. Saturday at 10, I'll have an hour. He's there when I arrive, seated at a corner table with an untouched coffee and the expression of a man who has been sitting with something uncomfortable for long enough that it has changed him by some small but irreversible degree. I sit across from him. I order tea. I wait. We should have been there, he says after a long moment. At the wedding. Yes, and before that and before that. He wraps both hands around his mug. I've been your mother and I have been talking with someone. A professional. The word costs him something. She suggested I come. I'm glad you came. He looks up. Something in my calm seems to unsettle him. He has perhaps expected something he could argue against or defend himself from, and my quiet is harder to manage than anger would be. I told myself you were fine, he says. Independent, strong, you didn't need what Brennan needed. I told myself that for 30 years and he stops. I think I told myself that so I didn't have to do the harder thing. What was the harder thing? Paying attention to both of you at the same time. He meets my eyes. It's easier to focus on the one who makes more noise. I sit with this for a moment. That's honest. I'm trying to be. Dad, I set my mug down. I'm not going to pretend 30 years of this didn't happen. I'm not going to tell you we're fine or that I've forgiven everything because you came to a coffee shop. That's not how this works. I pause. But I'm also not going to close the door permanently. If you and Mom are genuinely in therapy, real therapy, consistent with someone qualified, and if you're willing to have honest conversations about what actually happened, then I'm open to a relationship. A careful, limited, rebuilt from scratch relationship. Not the one we had. He nods slowly. Not the nod of someone getting what they wanted. The nod of someone receiving what they deserved. That seems fair, he says. It is fair, I agree. We finish our drinks without resolution and without pretense. When he leaves, I sit alone at the corner table for a few minutes, looking out at the gray Portland morning. A woman walks past with a stroller. A cyclist navigates around a pothole. The ordinary world continues its ordinary motion, indifferent to the small private earthquake that just occurred at table 7. I pay the bill and walk out into the November air. My phone shows a text from Paloma. Miss Rivers, they want to show the documentary at a national festival. I wanted you to know first. I type back. I always knew. Tell me everything. A year after the foundation's launch, Paloma stands at a festival podium in downtown Portland accepting an award for emerging documentary filmmakers, and I am in the third row watching with the particular pride that belongs to someone who opened a door rather than built the thing that walked through it. Beside me, Marcus has his arm around my shoulders. On my other side, Kieran is filming on his phone so we can share it with the team. Behind us, Tasha, who flew in from New York for this specifically, is already crying. Paloma says something in her acceptance speech about being seen for the first time in her life, about what it means to have someone invest in your potential before you've proven it, about the specific, transformative power of being believed in by someone who has nothing to gain from your success. Her voice is steady and strong and entirely her own. I think about my high school art teacher, Lydia Rivera, and the afternoon she kept me after class to tell me, with the matter-of-fact certainty of someone who has been right about these things before, that I had a rare and genuine eye. That the instinct to look at a thing and understand its essence was not common and should not be wasted. I think about the art showcase my parents missed because Brennan had a tournament. Lydia had been there, standing in front of my largest piece, asking me real questions about what I intended and what I discovered. That conversation changed my life. It was the first time I understood that being seen was possible, that the people you came from not seeing you was not proof that you were invisible. I built the foundation to multiply that conversation by every dollar I could responsibly put behind it. The reception afterward is warm and crowded. Paloma introduces me to her grandmother, a small woman with extraordinary posture who shakes my hand and then holds it between both of hers and says something in Spanish that Paloma translates. She says you gave her granddaughter wings, and she will thank God for you until she dies. I am not a woman who cries easily in public. I am not a woman who cries easily at all. I manage, just barely, to hold it together until Marcus steers me gently toward the coat room. Go ahead, he says quietly. I lean my head against his shoulder for approximately 90 seconds and let myself feel the full weight and lightness of what this year has been. The confrontation, the recording, the lobby, the board meetings, the emails from young women who asked if someone was actually looking, the coffee shop with my father, the therapy sessions that are ongoing and difficult and necessary, the foundation growing faster than we projected. Brennan's eventual, grudging acknowledgement through a mutual relative that my parents were in couples counseling, the continuing, careful, slow rebuilding of something with my mother that is not what we had, that is smaller and more honest and perhaps for that reason more real. Better? Marcus asks. Better. We rejoin the party. Tasha has cornered Paloma and is already planning a collaboration. Kieran has found the filmmaker from my board, and they are engaged in an animated technical conversation about lenses. The room hums with the specific energy of people who are doing meaningful work and know it. This is what I built. Not the foundation, though the foundation is real and growing and doing exactly what I intended. Not the career, though the career is something I am proud of without apology. Not the marriage, though Marcus is the best decision I have ever made. What I built is a life in which I am visible. In which the people around me are there because they want to be there, not because geography or obligation placed them in my vicinity and they never found a reason to leave. In which my achievements are witnessed by people who understand their weight. In which my failures are met with the specific generosity of people who are invested in my recovery. I spent 31 years trying to earn visibility from people who had already decided what was worth seeing. I have spent the last 3 years learning to build the room myself and invite in the people who actually show up. Driving home later, I pass the coffee shop on Morrison. Through the window, I can see the corner table, empty now, just a table. The ordinary sight of an extraordinary conversation. My phone buzzes. A text from my mother. Sloan, your father told me about Saturday. Thank you for seeing him. We are trying. I know that's not enough yet. We are trying. I read it twice at a red light. Then I put the phone down and drive the rest of the way home in the particular quiet of someone who has made peace with complexity, who has accepted that the people who hurt you most can also be the people working hardest to become something better, and that both of these things can be true at the same time without requiring you to pretend the hurt didn't happen. Marcus is in the kitchen when I get home, something on the stove that smells of garlic and fresh herbs. The house is lit warmly. Our cat is asleep in the chair that belongs, technically, to no one. How was the reception? Marcus asks. Perfect, I say, and then my mother texted. He turns from the stove, waits. They're trying. I hang up my coat. That's all it says, that they're trying. How does that feel? I think about it honestly. Like a beginning, I say, a very small, very cautious beginning, which is the only kind I'm willing to have with them right now. That's enough, he says. It might be. I sit at the kitchen table and look at the ordinary miracle of this room, the person who loves me cooking dinner, the warm light, the sleeping cat, the specific piece of a space I built on my own terms with people who chose me freely. It might be. Later, I sit on the back porch in the night air, the city quiet below us, and I think about what Paloma said at the podium, about being seen, about what it does to a person to finally be seen. I think, I see you, Paloma. I see Lydia Rivera, who saw me first. I see the 31 years of a girl who kept showing up in rooms and making things worth looking at and waiting, and waiting, and waiting for the people who should have been paying attention. I see her clearly, and I have nothing but respect for everything she built in the dark. Some roots are given to you, tangled and conditional and shaped by other people's choices, watered with what they had left over after they gave the important things elsewhere. And some roots you grow yourself, deep and deliberate and reaching exactly as far as you decide they should reach, in soil you chose, in a season you named. Those are the ones that hold. I know, I tested them. Every single year, in every single storm, they hold.